Hi, hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I mostly stream on Twitch. You can find information in the description about that. If you enjoyed the content, it'd mean a lot for me if you like and subscribe, of course. If I see an interest, I would like to start to produce more YouTube content. Now, this particular video was actually a suggestion from a viewer of mine on Twitch. So, I was basically asking, what should I do for my next YouTube? So, today I will talk about hexes. Are they worth running? Now, the problem with hexes is that once they are cleansed, you're left running with only 3 perks left for the rest of the game, assuming you're running only 1 hex. And the upside with hexes would be that they can be quite powerful. Although that is not always the case, some hexes are definitely worth running. Maybe. In my opinion, the most intrusive hexes would be Third Seal, Ruin, Face the Darkness, and Devour Hope. No One Escapes Death. I mean, it's a good hex, but this is only active in the end game, so that takes an analysis of its own. The Plaything is another intrusive hex that activates per survivor, so that also in a way required its own analysis. Now, of course, you can make sure your hexes last longer by investing another perk, like Hex Undying, but I'm going to keep it simple this time. So I decided to play 20 games using 3 different hexes: Third Seal, Ruin, and Face the Darkness. So for the statistics, I decided to follow the time taken before cleanse, how many generators were left, and how many hooks were performed. And finally, how many games did the hex last until the end. Before diving into the statistics, I'd also like to clarify that I know these statistics will depend upon, for example, how the survivors play the game, what killers you're using, and how you as a killer play the game. Now, I don't go out of my way to protect my hex, at least this time. I play as if it's just a perk. So from a 60 games played, 20 for each hex, I found that on average the survivor cleansed the hex after approximately 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, this is not counting the times the hexes lasted until the end of the game. This is only counting the times the hex was actually cleansed. Now, the hexes were on average cleansed when there were 3.7 generators left to do. So, not really 4 generators left, not only 3 left, but, somewhere in between. And on average 1.8 hooks had been performed, so pretty early in the game, I would say. However, the hexes were not cleansed at all in 42% of my games. That is actually quite a lot, at least from what I was expecting. Now, the win rate for the 60 games I played landed at 77%, which I consider quite good. Having said that, this will naturally depend on the killer you choose. And the killers I played mostly for these particular hexes were Twins for Third Seal, Artist with Ruin, and Skull Merchant with Face the Darkness. Now, I also played other killers, but those 3 were in the majority of the games using those particular hexes. Alright, let's dive into the individual hexes. The hex that I ended up finishing my games with the most was Face the Darkness. So actually 70% of the games I played had it stay until the end, giving me full value of the perk. And that's probably not surprising, considering Face the Darkness is a little tricky hex because it can go inactive. And it will go inactive if the survivor that started it gets downed or healed. Interestingly though, was that when this hex was cleansed, it was cleansed the fastest of the 3, both in terms of time, generators left, and hooks performed. My conclusions here is that the survivors really didn't like it and likely set out to find it whenever it was active. I therefore consider this hex to be the most successful, and the games I played with it had a 95% win rate. Now, it's difficult to say whether it was the killer or the perks combined, or the fact that the survivors didn't or couldn't focus gens because of it. It's hard to know. But of the 20 games I played, 19 was a win. The hex that gave me the least amount of value was Ruin. only lasting the full game 25% of the time. As it happens, it also landed the least amount of wins as well, with 60%. I mean, 60% isn't bad, but of these 20 games, this one gave me the smallest win rate. Not much to say, really. If the survivors are working on twos, they can circumvent it easily. Also, to get full value, you as a killer have to be pressuring gens a lot. Have efficient loops as well. When I play with Ruin, I tend to combine it with, for example, Grim Embrace or Deadman's Switch, in order to make sure it gives me some regression. Now, Artist excels here, since you can send your birds out on the generators. So after a hook, most of the time the survivors respond by letting go to dodge the birds that come flying at them, giving you a full Deadman's Switch worth of regression. The problem comes when you don't get your hooks, and when you fail to pressure gens in time. So for a killer with my limited experience, I have only 1200 hours in the game, and these hours are actually spread between killer and survivor. I may not be able to utilize this hex to its maximum, which would then lead to me getting a lower win rate than the other hexes. It's difficult to say. Now let's look at the third hex, that's Third Seal. Now this hex lasted the entire game 30% of the time. Playing with it using mostly twins landed me 75% of wins. This is really quite good. Now this is a very intrusive hex. Being blind is not fun. And I absolutely think at least one survivor every game I played went out of its way to find this hex. Knowing this, it could actually be worthwhile noting gens around this hex and patrolling it in a way that you can keep an eye on it and maybe at least 4 gens around its vicinity. I didn't do this though, but with other killers it could be a winning strategy to do, ensuring maximum pressure. The good thing with it is that downed survivors can be left on the ground to force the survivors out from gens to search for them. Now I know slugging is frowned upon by survivors, but it's a playstyle like any other. It's not fun for the regular, not so seasoned killer either, when there is a group of survivors in Discord picking a map, synchronizing 16 perks for it, and each other, and then finishing 4 gens in 5 minutes, ending the game by looping the killer, taking turns to get hit and heal up to gain some survival points before escaping. But you know, that's also a playstyle like any other. So, with Third Seal, if you can tap 4 survivors early, you have a great advantage because you have now nullified a lot of their perks. So for example, Empathy, Bond, Deja Vu, Kindred, Windows of Opportunity, all of these get nullified by this hex because the survivors are now blind, they cannot see these auras anymore. I actually might be going to play this perk more on other killers than twins, just to test this out a little bit more. So overall, I am surprised by the win rate I have, and that not counting Face the Darkness, about 1/3 of the games had the hex actually last the entire round. That is pretty good. I think Ruin can be quite strong when paired with perks that block generators such as Grim Embrace, Deadman's Switch and Deadlock. And of the perks used, Face the Darkness is the one that will give you the most value in terms of lasting the entire round. It is also great for finding survivors, and when paired with, for example, Nowhere to Hide, it can actually become quite difficult for stealthy survivors to stay hidden. That's it for my analysis. I hope you enjoyed and even got something worthwhile from this video. I might just do Devour for my next one. Like, is it worth running to get exposure and even Moris? Or will defending your totem for this make you lose more games than win them? So until next time, keep an eye on my Twitch channel. See you!